G'day everyone. This is known as GeniAus, who got a message from a friend on Facebook over the Easter weekend. And this young friend asked me if I had blogged or written anything about doing a surname study. Now, I'm a bit of a beginner in the surname study stakes, so I haven't really given advice. But I thought, yeah, there are a few things I could share with my young friend that may stop her from making some of the mistakes I made as a beginner. The first thing I did was procrastinate because I didn't want to do a half-baked surname study. I wanted to do a good job. Well, a few friends jollied me along and said, if you don't do it, no one else probably will. So with their support, I decided to hop in and do my study. So I'd say the same to my young friend, except I hope her name doesn't have as many instances as mine does. I'm using my my maiden name, Curry, and I've limited my study to Australia because it certainly would be too onerous to do for a world study. So my advice would be to start a study in one geographical area, and then as you find people with whom you might collaborate, you can extend the study, or if you think you've done most of it for your state, then you may do all the states in Australia, for instance, and then you may move on to the UK or the United States. So, like everything else, you can do it in small idea. Secondly, a very sensible thing I did, actually before I started my study or registered my study, while I was procrastinating, I joined a group. And I'll just share my screen and show you the group I joined. I was a member of another group, but it was quite expensive, whereas this study is only £5 per month, per annum. So a few cups of coffee and you've paid your annual subscription. It was set up just over 12 months ago by artists from around the world, so it has a worldwide focus. It's not restrictive in its rules for conducting studies, so I like that. It allows you to use your initiative, do your own thing. This is their website, which is quite nice. There is a members-only section. The other areas of the website are open to the public. And in this members-only section, you can find trivia here, information about conferences, the newsletters that come out quarterly. The newsletters are worth the £5 per annum without doing anything else. You can add content to the website. You can register your study, and then, of course, you can go back and edit your study, give it a bigger and better description, or as you move from a state to a country to worldwide, it can alter your description. And in the surname school, there are resources to help you along your way. So that is the second thing I do. Now, the methodology we use for a surname study is quite similar, really, to what we would use when doing our regular family history, but I think you need to be even a little bit more organised. Once you've decided on the scope of your study, then you've got to decide how you're going to manage all the bits and pieces of data or information that you gather. Now, I couldn't understand anyone who using paper, but I'm sure some people do, and they probably do it successfully, but I'm in the 21st century, so I believe in using online tools. You might decide to use Excel, as I did when I started, but I realised that this didn't give me as much flexibility as using family history software. I'm actually using Family Historian, which I use for my personal family history, as are a number of other people conducting surname studies. What I particularly like about, well, you can use Excel if you like, but what I like about Family Historian is that one of the views enables me to treat my data in a spreadsheet manner. Let me share my screen and you'll see what I mean. Here is the spreadsheet type view of my data in Family Historian. Add to this display any field that is in the database. So these are the ones I have chosen. I could probably put a marriage date in there. I could put the name of the spouse if I wanted, but these are what I've chosen. And the beauty of this is that I can sort by any of these columns. For instance, here, the moment I've sorted by burial place. So I would imagine this Oberon cemetery here is a country cemetery. I would imagine that the people that are buried there are probably related to each other. And down the track, as I'm trying to merge all my individuals into families to constitute those families, this would be a really good tool. But let's start at the beginning. The very first thing I do is I call record for each person that I add to this program. Now, if I don't know, let's pick on Ada. I'm just searching for Ada. If I don't know that this Ada is the same Ada as that Ada, I put 2 records in until I'm sure that these Adas are one and the same person. I will keep 2 records and then I'll merge them down the track. And then even further down the track, I'll try and tie Ada into her parents and siblings. This is wonderful for sorting again, because when I come to a record for Ada, I could actually sort it by death date and then can be got with what is here. And if those 2 Adas match up, I can add to the record, or if they don't match up, I can create a new record. So I've got many more records than there probably are people. But you can see I can sort by birthplace once again. That's just for the Adas. We can do it for everyone. And birth date. So we can go here, and that's very handy when you're looking for someone. If I find a record for Colleen, from the 1920s, I can go, maybe that's her. So it's a lovely way to find things. So I don't take much notice, especially for women, of the last names. I tend to do all my searching by first names. And then I put things together afterwards. So that's recording things in the database. For heaven's sake, record your sources, just the same sort of stuff as you do when you're doing your regular family history research. Now, I've got a number of tools that I use to try and keep me organised, and most of them are on the internet, so I can access them from anywhere, any place, and on any device. That's why I tend to use Google Sheets rather than Excel. Now, if I can go to the right page, I'll show you some of the things I use. The very first thing I have is a blog. I'm a bit of a fan, but it helps me get my message out about CurryAus. I blog some stories. I blog about resources. And a great thing is that this blog is being archived by Pandora at the National. So even after I've turned up my toes, my curry stories and the story of my database will be out there. I haven't decided yet how to publish my database or whether I actually will, but for the time being, this gives me a presence on the internet. Another thing I have is this Google Sheet to follow my progress on looking at resources. I tend to be a bit over the shop and I find a resource and I think, oh, I'll look at that. And this helps just to keep me on track. What I do is I started this off in actually Evernote, but I realised a spreadsheet would be better. So I have the name of the resource, its URL, the coverage, the focus of the resource, and my progress. So if I see a resource, I add it in here. If it's a small resource like the cable clerical index, I add those details to my database straight away. If it's only got up to 40 or 50 records, I do that. So, but for major things, I'm concentrating initially on New South Wales stuff. The births, deaths and marriages, I just record over here in this progress column where I'm up to. You can see here, Maitland Cemetery burials are only a few, so I did that at one sitting and I just mark in green. But this is good. If I see a resource that I think might be useful, I pop it in here and can come back and add whatever's in that resource to my family history program, Family Historian, and then in green it's done. So that really keeps me on the straight and narrow, so to speak. Of course, I love fiddling in Trove, and I could do a search for CurryAus and it will find a couple of CurryAus things for me. It was that my website is archived at the National Library, so that's nice. But then it tells me that there's a CurryAus surname study list, which I've set up. And whenever I'm on Trove and I just happen to find something about a curry in Australia, and I haven't got time to deal with it immediately, I add it to my CurryAus list. Now I've got 245 items there that one day I'll be able to go back and process and put the information into Family Historian. So other people have tagged these notices as well, but I've put them in my CurryAus list, and I just put a note to myself that it's a death notice or an obituary or a court case, death notice, obituary, etc. Just accidental death, so I don't have to open up the record. I think I'll probably go back and do the obituaries first because they seem to be the richest records as far as details go. So that's another thing I use to organise myself. Is that all? I blog, I use Trove. I'll show you something else on my blog and then that will be that. On the blog, I've got a few other bits. I've got obviously my contact details. Hopefully people will contact me if they've got some curry stuff to share. Just a quirky little static page on curry places. So there's, you know, a park, a hotel, a creek, a jetty, a lane, a park. Curry Reserve at Camden, pardon me, is named for my convict ancestors. Oh dear. Any curry websites I find that have got a significant number of curries in them, I add there. Bit of information about me and a bit of history on the study. So hopefully my young friend will consider doing a family history, not a family history, a one name study, and she might decide that she will give it a go. I'm here to help, and the members of the Surname Society would be delighted to offer any assistance to that person. So I hope she gets started. I'm sure she'll enjoy the experience. Thank you for listening to me. Good night.